have a good advisor in the cap table, maybe 2 or 3 good advisors. That adds a lot of value when you are raising a Series A or a Series B.
Right.
So I think there are ways to look at how to structure the cap table. That itself is a very important thing an accelerator can do, right? Help founders to navigate how to keep the cap table clean so that you can raise follow-on round. Yeah, valuation is a debated topic. It is like beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So that is how you look at valuation. If you get a better valuation, why not? Has to be kind of covered in an accelerator format in a right way, where we need to cover about how do you really value a company. Do you value a company based on the IP and how much can you monetize the IP? Do you value it based on the TAM and at a horizon that you can unlock that TAM in 5 to 6 years? So if you think about unlocking a TAM in 5 to 6 years, do you do a DCF method to find the valuation right now? Or you purely value on the founder's ability to think beyond?
Innovation has global names, and most of them are not from India. We produce world class talent for the world, but not enough companies that lead it. So, what's holding us back? Fear of failure, a service first mindset, or capital which doesn't like to take risk? The truth is, innovation is happening across startups, corporates, academia, and technology. What's missing is scale, a globally loved viral company from India. And that matters because India is at a rare inflection point. Small bets won't take us where we want to go. I am Jitesh, and this is Multipolar, a space for honest, structured conversations on what it really takes to build global companies and to spotlight the innovations already happening around us. No noise, no shortcuts, just real conversations. Let's get multipolar. Our guest has spent over 20 years building India's startup ecosystem. He is the founder and CEO of Incubate Hub, Asia's largest open innovation platform, and also a founding member of Mirai Ventures, India's first AI native venture studio.
Rajiv, while talking of day zero, another impediment that entrepreneurs go through is like, how are you getting the initial funding? These are not institutional funders. Not on day one, not everybody gets a VC funding, which means that they're trying to raise money through their inner circle. The 3 Fs, how we speak, friends, family, fools. None of these startup, founders want to make anybody a fool of. But the problem is that it creates an imbalance in the cap structure, especially when you're looking at a longer exit paths, right? So you would have something like 15, 20 people on your cap table, and then when the next actual, financial funding happens, everybody's worried about the cap table. So are there some remedies to set it up in the beginning itself?
That's a great question, Ullas. I think the friends family rounds which are happening, if a founder is looking at playing the long game, right, and they at least want to kind of get into a Series B kind of a funding, which is like a 50 to 80 million dollar kind of a, that's where a messy cap table becomes a problem, right? And that's where I think sometimes a good advisory board can help, right? If you have a good advisory board, structure it properly, will definitely help. You can take rounds from friends and family, but pull it into a LLP and an SPV, an LLP, and put the capital. That's a better way to do this. Have a good advisor in the cap table, maybe 2 or 3 good advisors. That adds a lot of value when you are raising a Series A or a Series B. So I think there are ways to kind of look at how to structure the cap table. That itself is a very important thing an accelerator can do, right? Helps founders to navigate how to do keep the cap table clean so that you can raise follow-on rounds.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think for me, in my own experience, I've practically seen the problems. But how much of this has played out in some of the startups that you have seen? And at what point of time has the accelerator come in and said, hey, fix it?
Yeah, it's been late in the journey. I'm talking about 3 years, 4 years down the line, these challenges have come, right? Even in my previous journey, there was, I cannot name it, but one company I'm talking about, Purple Lip, which had a majority stake, and it was becoming very difficult for when the conversations around exit was taking place, right? So how if they have a high say, like if somebody has more than 24% equity in the company and has a board seat, then it becomes challenging, right? So I think I have seen very bad stories about when you look at exit, when you look at follow-on funding, how a cap table plays a very difficult role. To have a good cap table always help from
Right.
That's day zero must,
Very
right?
nice.
As an accelerator, it can help. Yeah.
Do investors appreciate the fact that that journey is something that has probably happened, but when the founding team is willing to reconstruct,
Yes.
restructure it?
Yes, the ecosystem has matured. The investors understand, and if the investor is itself a founder who have gone through the journey, he or she understands that this can be a challenge,
Right.
and they give time to readjust those cap table. Right, you can buy back, you can sell, you can readjust.
Sure.
Many a times an accelerator helps in doing those readjustments also, right? So yes, but when you look at, I'll say till pre-series A, still it is fine. The investors in that rate. But when you look at an institutional investor, right, a series A, series B onwards, they will not give you so much of leeway, right? Before that, you have to get the cap table clean. So before, I will say pre-series A is when you should have the cap table clean.
Thanks for that.
And you mentioned about having advisors. Right. Now, for me or anybody, who is just starting the company, when is the time for me to get an advisor? Day one or later?
It depends on the founder. If a founder is a little experienced founder, then I will say not in day zero. But if the founder is a first-time founder, then I will highly recommend to have an advisor partner on board from the initial day, so that you don't make those mistakes that typically happens in the first 6 to 9 months. But if you're an experienced founder, still I feel you need an advisor, and you should have a good advisor in your cap table.
And let's say I'm first time founder.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for an advisor. Should this be an equity exchange for the services, or should this be some paid services? How it works?
Yeah, so I think I'll take a step back, right? So when you look for an advisor or an investor, you go to LinkedIn and you search for advisor and investors. Today, everybody has a tag called advisor and investor in their LinkedIn, right? So even if somebody is putting 1,00,000 rupees, even I have heard 50,000 rupees, they become an advisor and investor, angel investor, right, in your LinkedIn tag. So if you are a first-time entrepreneur, you have to be very careful, right? You cannot just take anybody in the advisory board, right? Or any investor, just because they are putting in your first initial seed capital, you cannot just take them on board. That for me is very important. So in that sense, I feel an accelerator can again help a lot, right? To choose who are the right advisor and investors is a lot of value that an accelerator can bring in for a founder. And your question on the topic of you spoke about which kind of advisors you should choose. I think it has to be complementing also, right? If you're a technical co-founder, you should have somebody who understands a GTM. You should definitely have an advisor who understands your domain pretty well, right? Who has a domain depth, because navigating that domain is a challenge. So it depends on what you bring into the table. An advisor is somebody who brings in a complementing thing, and also kind of opens up your blind spots. So you have to look at both the sides, right? Opening up the blind spot as well as bringing something complementing. I think, yeah, that will be my point of view.
Probably there's no moat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very hard to find a moat because you probably will say, hey, I don't have a competitor. But to your surprise, the investor probably say, hey, no, I know this guy. I think it leads to one more point. We're talking why startups fail. One piece also is execution. I know ideas are great, but execution is everything. How well am I getting my entire execution in order? I think is a uh, and just to reflect again upon a couple of points that you essentially made, changing people's mindset. Great story that we have, Zoho. Great fan of Sridhar sir. I think he's an inspiration to a lot of us. But I think that's a success story that everybody should see and then say, hey, yeah, I can build a world class product out of this place. The other bit, patient capital. It was very heartening to hear somebody who went and pitched to Rainmatter Capital. And the founder was very eager to say, hey, I'm going to give you an exit in 3 years. So the response that came from the research analyst is like, we don't care about it. Right. I think these are the kind of VCs, who will also have to come in. Their mindset has to probably change. Staying on the topic of, equity, money raise, these are two probably my favorite questions. First one, valuation itself is subjective, and it's a lot more a debated topic from a very Indian startup perspective. How does a startup, kind of get through this?
Yeah, valuation is a debated topic. It is like beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, right? So that is how you look at valuation, right? So if you get a better valuation, why not? So that is how startups look at it, right? If I kind of get a 80x multiple, 20x multiple, why should I not grab it? That is how it was happening, like in the boom cycle,
Right.
2016 boom cycle, 2021 boom cycle. But if you see, some of them have kind of hit a roadblock. If you take a high valuation, then getting the next investor becomes difficult. Then you have to do a lot of adjustments and stuff like that, and it has become a negative connotation. A higher valuation as a starting point has sometimes have a negative connotation in your startup journey, right? From a founder perspective, also with anti-dilution clause. If you have anti-dilution clause and dilution clauses, then in your exit journey you will be with peanuts. Peanuts means zero, right? So you have to have those first rights that you give up, right? So so valuation has to be looked in a right way. Uh, Valuation as a subject itself has to be kind of covered in an accelerator format in a right way, where we need to cover about how do you really value a company, right? Do you value a company based on the IP and how much can you monetize the IP? Do you value it based on the TAM? Based on the TAM and at a horizon that you can unlock that TAM in 5 to 6 years.
Right.
So if you think about unlocking a TAM in 5 to 6 years, do you do a DCF method to find the valuation right now, right? Or you purely value on the founder's ability to think beyond, right? And investors actually value sometimes the founders, and if it's a second-time entrepreneur, definitely. But even in a first-time entrepreneur, if they look at the founder's ability to kind of take it to the level that the conviction of the founder, sometimes investors value based on that.
Right.
So valuation as a subject itself is a topic on its own.
Absolutely.
Happy to discuss.
Well, I think that itself is a section, but thanks for those points. I think one of the important things, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it is morely an accountant's view today, valuation, DCF, NPV, and this is what it is, give me projections for 5 years. But if you're really looking at it from an IP valuation, most of the startups don't even file a patent. They don't have the understanding of going and filing a patent. And to what extent will IPO give you value when you're looking at a very established investor? Do you go to a USPTO? Who's giving you that kind of money, right? So many deliberations that are running in. But one simple question, again, as I said, we could have a separate section on this. But is the VC community maturing enough to say that, hey, IP has to be valued?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think the maturity has come, at least in the top tier one VCs, that the IP and as you know that where is that IP filed also matters, right? In which country have you filed the IP? VCs are valuing based on that also. So all of that is in the consideration when valuing a company. The founding team, I have seen the founding team, the composition of the founding team becoming a critical piece in valuation. So if you have the right kind of composition of a founding team, that's valued too. So apart from your basic accounting processes, I think this plays a critical role. Yeah.
Uh, if a company does not have a patent, but they have built credible code, they've crossed a product market fit or a PMF, would VCs consider that, yeah, you have something, but I'm going to give you money, go in and file a patent?
Uh, if they really believe that patent is of value, then I think today the VCs are willing to give an extra capital in the table to file and get a patent done. Right. So that's happening. That is my view right now. Even in my current experience, both the companies that we are spinning out, and we'll discuss about it later, they have 50 patents filed, 12 of them granted in US and in India and in Germany. So and again, it comes to the patient capital, and we'll come to that segue, but we have seen that the corporate innovation, they're putting that patient capital to that journey to kind of get the patents done. And it is becoming easier, right? When I'm talking about, like, we work in the space of AI, right? And enterprise AI. And we see that patent monetization is happening in the corporate innovation scenario. But when I'm looking at founders, and you touched upon LLMs and depth and all of that, the depth is missing in the Indian ecosystem, right? So you need patient capital, you need the kind of data that is required to build those kind of LLM. And without that, you cannot really file a patent, right? Your patent has less value. So I think we can come to that topic, but how innovation is happening, from where those innovations are happening, and I feel patents are valuable in some kinds of innovation motions that are happening. So we can touch upon that.
And the second favorite question, you probably read my mind. You're talking about ROFO, ROFED, anti-dilution clauses. How do we navigate through those? Those are very harsh terms. How many founders are even, do they even understand what they're signing on, right? They just see money, it's very emotional, you take the money in and then you get stuck somewhere.
I've been on the other side, right? So I have been on the other side, and having founded companies, like, just because the money is on the table, right? Somebody, like, you're sitting with an investor who has capital and saying that we can put the capital right away, and you know what's your cash flow, right, in the background, and then you're tempted. You don't read through, you don't think that what will happen 2 years down the line, or what will happen even like 12 months down the line. So you're always tempted, but basic understanding of term sheets are super critical. And since now I'm helping startups to kind of, or ventures to kind of spin out and build ventures, your structuring becomes important. You are playing an 8 to 10 years game, right? And you will raise multiple rounds of funding. So absolutely, term sheets are basics which even all accelerators should cover. What are the pros and cons of different terms, how to kind of navigate. I think this is super important.
Yeah, I think we certainly need another section for this. Just one more point with reflecting upon what we spoke. You took a great case of Zepto. It's a business innovation. It is a GTM. Cracking GTM for a very tough market. That's more on the B2C side. Now, how do you see things in the B2B side? I think B2B, B2E, startups also find it very difficult to get their, accounts moving. So, any view?
Yeah, I think India has done a great job in the last 10 years in B2C, right? Understanding the whole B2C, D2C consumer, taking products to the consumer, and building brands, D2C brands. India has done some great job, some great brands like Zeptos and Lenskart and all of them, right? But if you look at the B2B space, in the enterprise space, you cannot name many companies who have done really great in India. I think you're talking about Zoho and all. They have done decent job. Maybe Tally, in some sense, done some good job in the Indian B2B, B2E landscape. But I think lot to be done is what I feel. And both from a founder's perspective, understanding how to navigate that landscape is difficult, at least the enterprise landscape, who have not been into the sales side. A lot of the founders today are tech founders, have not gone through those sales motions that, as we call GTM motions, in the enterprise space. So that can definitely help. Plus, I feel that with the GCCs, the Global Capability Centers of large parent companies coming to India, it is now becoming easy for founders, if they have the right motions, to kind of do some pilots and POCs through the GCCs, get a buy-in, get what we call a local champion or a startup champion inside those companies who can kind of move you faster in the enterprise space. I think those motions might be interesting to understand for the current genre of B2B startups, enterprise startups.
Question that I probably will have for somebody who's structuring a program like this. One of the fears that a startup would essentially have is that, okay, if there is a credible idea which has got a larger global, ramification to it, how would the corporate look at them? Would they want to steal it? Would they want to ask? Those are fears that
Absolutely. I think these are real, like, we have seen those things in like from the grounds. A corporate is a different beast, a startup is a different beast, right? And there are real challenges, right? The corporates exploit startups, right? They look at those ideas, they do those hackathons and those startup showcases to look at what should be their product pipeline, next product pipeline, scanning those markets. They use it as a scanning those markets. That is why I said that there has been a lot of resistance from the startup community who are a little mature to engage with corporates, that we have seen real. But that's where this whole venture clienting model has come in, where it's a win-win for both sides.
I think, see, if I look at from corporate side, see, there is a business to run. Then when, as a corporate, I am looking at a startup, I would want to be safe that this is the right experiment I'm doing. Startup will not shut down, or they'll not sell that company to somewhere else. So these, criteria do come in often, right? Even as a corporate, when they want to experiment, they're also want to be careful about it.
Yes, absolutely.
And through that corporate venture channel, this can be more stabilized and this can be win-win. So that both parties understand each other.
What you said right now is super critical and important. That's not exploitation, right? I need to have a first mover advantage. So when we used to run those open innovation programs, we used to structure the first mover advantage, that you have a 18 to 24 month window to co-create solutions and take it to market, and you cannot take those solutions to the other competitors of that corporate. Now, those are baked in, structured into those open innovation programs that is run. But what I think Ullas was mentioning is that has been exploited, right? People have run this kind of just POCs and not taken it forward, because to learn from it, right? A quick 5 lakh, 10 lakh POC is like $5 million learning for the corporate, right? Now, that has created a bad impression in the startups, and that is why kind of separating that some of these corporates who are bad apples, Incubator has played that role, that because we work on both sides, right? Startups and corporates. So because we become the channel, we speak to the startups that like whom to not engage with, whom to engage with. That's also something that we have done as a service.
But giving it a positive spin to this whole thing, and this question more so is on both sides. if you're building in a program where you are facilitating, a larger game for the startups on success, it could be another exit strategy for the startup itself, where they're building into the roadmap of a larger company, right? I think if that kind of an ecosystem can be built up, it will be a win for both.
Absolutely. That's something that is very positive. But as a founder, as a startup founder, if your objective is to kind of exit with a strategic exit, then some of these programs really help. Like we have seen programs where first the corporate was a client, then the corporate was a minority investor, and from there they acquired the company within a period of 3 to 4 years. So those kind of programs also we have been part, and we have designed those programs in such a way that that's the pathway. And we choose the founders and the startups in that way, that who are interested in that path. Not every founder is interested in that path, right? So those are all built into those programs, and Incubator has facilitated some of these programs in
Wonderful.
the past.
I think just one last question on this. See, corporates, let's say you pick up a tier one corporate. I have a large IT team. I have a big operations. Whatever I need to solve a problem, let's say that exists internally, then why shall I go outside and take support from a startup, which might be new,
Correct.
to do something? Should this be about that the problems which I have not been able to solve as a corporate, I pick those, then go out? Or shall this be more about just experimentation, that pick up a fancy problem statement and then experiment on it?
Very good question. And the good part is that many of these are answered in the corporate venture clienting setup. The whole thing about build, buy, rent, right? What should you build internally? What should you rent? What should you buy? The question about what should you do internally, what should you partner, like what we call dual innovation, right? What is core, what is adjacent? All of that gets answered in the venture clienting framework, right? We have a mechanism to look at a use case, create a business case, create a financial rationale, and then decide that what you should do internally, what you should do externally, what you should put away, and create actual real financial rationale behind it for the getting the CFO's approval. Because what we have seen is that if you keep doing those POCs without getting the top management and the CFO's buy-in, then it is more of that innovation theater, right? So in the venture clienting model, you have the CFO's buy-in before even engaging with startups. You are very clear that this is happening externally for a particular reason. Are we doing it as a joint GTM? Are we doing it as a digital transformation? And if it is happening internal, then can I leverage my internal strengths? So all of that.
Would you recommend? See, we have spoken about GTMs, right? A startup should have a GTM. And now, let's say this corporate wants to try it, and they want to convey what they want to try and why they want to go outside. Should they not also have a GTM in place for themselves for such initiatives?
They do actually. Many of the corporates are right now having those kind of GTM. So the way they are structuring their, the venturing team, the corporate venturing team has some of them have those, like VCs have a platform team to help startups with GTM support right now. The corporates are also in their program baking in those teams so that the startups can leverage not only the internal GTM, because some of these GCCs and companies have like large clients within those parent companies, right? They are like conglomerates and many businesses. So they are helping the startups navigate internally to various use cases and various departments. But others are also doing something joint GTM outside the setup. And there also Incubate Hub and Mirai plays a role. Some of these things, programs we have managed. But the ecosystem has kind of like moved towards that.
So see, normally if I am a corporate or a GCC, there is a tendency that if we want to do quite experimentation, innovation, then let's take services from a big four. Reasons can be many. That is, there is a success, there is a proven track of record, versus you straight jump into some accelerator or incubator. How shall somebody decide, who is on that authority and a decision making power, whom to work with and why?
So the big fours are great at creating those long-term strategies, like 5-year strategies, distilling it down into what the CEO should focus now, what should be the innovation charter, what should be the innovation program look like. But when it comes to actually implementing those strategies on the ground, engaging with startups, understanding the startups' mindset and the corporate's mindset, how to engage the employees along with the startups to run those programs, I think that's where a niche boutique consulting comes into play, uh, and the agility is much higher. The cost of experimentation is much lower. So I think it's not either or. I think the big four also come in and add their value, and the niche innovation boutique consulting also adds value in all these programs. But I will definitely say that the consulting companies, the big four companies, are also realizing that they have to become the true partner, sharing risk in this innovation journey, which some of the corporate venture studios like Mirai has been doing, where they come in not like a service provider, more like a venture partner in the venture programs.
Okay, I think very, very helpful. It's clear. So, Rajiv, last few closing questions, right? And I think this is again on startups and founders. If you look at a founder, what are the key traits you look at in them, which are beyond funding, and but it leads to largely a long-term success?
Yeah. So then, from a founder perspective, right? So you have to have definitely the passion. That passion is required. Hard work is required. There's no escape from a 70-hour, 80-hour week, right? Like we are doing it in the weekends. The founder has to kind of slog it out in the weekends. You cannot talk about the work-life balance, at least for the first 2 years, right? So that's super important. But more than that, what a founder needs to bring in is then when the odds are low, right? And in a startup journey, there are multiple times that you are demotivated, and how do you bring your team together and give them that common mission and they strive towards that? A founder CEO has to bring in that. That's one of the biggest character, or you say a strength or a skill that a founder needs to bring in, right? A founder needs to be patient for sure, and see through that some of the experiments that they are doing. They cannot just leave it in between. They have to follow through with the experimentation. They have to pivot. If they are genuinely concerned about that problem statement, then they have to see through some of those stuff. So these are some of the traits that we look for in a founder when we are looking at partnering with them, investing in them.
Wonderful. And see, one of the critical milestone in founder's journey is also to raise fund, and also raise fund on time. Normally, what we hear outside that most of the founders have run 100 rounds, 200 rounds, and after that they get a success. So why it is so complicated to get funding? Is it very India specific issue, or is it like this is how globally it is?
Yeah. So if a founder doesn't have its own network, if like it's an early stage founder, so some of the founders have gone through maybe a 15 year, 18 years operator journey where they have built a network. Like Ullas was saying, that they can tap into from a friend family round perspective. That if that's not there, and you have to raise your first round of funding, now what will be the anchor, right? You don't have a credibility. So what does the investor look for, right? A credibility, a past credibility. Now, if you don't have, is it only on the product that you have an innovative idea, innovative product based on that? So if you look at from that perspective, a founder, if while they have built a great product, when they're looking at an investor, they have to also, like they look at customers, they're selective about whom to go after, choose the ICP. They have to also do some research on who is the ideal investor. Do a research on that before reaching out with a very specific proposition. When you reach out to a customer, you don't send a generic mail, right? You send a very specific contextual mail to a customer. You have to be choosy
Hmm.
about it. So you look at in fundraising as also the GTM journey,
Hmm.
a go-to-market motion. So if you look at that, you need preparation, you need kind of create your ICP of investors. So I think those things can help a founder not to kind of spray and pray, like you said, like pitch to 200 investors and you are getting like 2 or 3 success stories, converting them into investors, right? So I think those kind of research might
I
help.
think wonderful. So if it is approached in this way, then the conversion
Yeah.
can be definitely higher, because today I think is many is quite random.
Yeah.
That you just look at investor tag and just write to them,
Yeah.
no matter if it is their interest portfolio or interest
Yeah.
direction or not. What would be the key message you would like to give to the young innovators who are listening to this podcast? What would that be?
Yeah, so if I look at it from my lens, like 18 years back, right? So what advice should I give myself, right? That is, if I look at from that angle, I think today's generation is pretty smart, right? And what I will tell them is, whichever area you're passionate about, right? Spend some quality time on that. Research a little bit. You have now access to information. That asymmetry of information is not there today. Like 20 years back, there was an asymmetry of information. Somebody knew something, somebody doesn't know something, and trade used to happen because of asymmetry of information. But now you have information. Now, how do you process that information? If you're genuinely interested to solve the problem, right? Why? The question of why you are starting up, you are solving a genuine problem, right? So research on that problem, and you should be also genuinely interested in the problem. If it is not your own problem, at least it should be a problem that you see in your ecosystem or where you have reach. I think those are super critical like things, and I will advise young founders to spend a little more quality time understanding the problem, understanding the ICP, and why they are doing what they're doing. What is, like, just because it is it is like the next big thing, the starting up is the next big thing, or starting up, that's not the right way, I feel, to start up. So so those will be my some of the advice. Apart from that, I feel that networking is a very important skill, right? So you have to kind of be in the right place at the right time. So you have to meet people. Even if you're an introvert, you should be part of different activities, events, different of these accelerator programs, so that more than advice, you get to meet the right people. So your network will eventually become your net worth, right? So you have to kind of spend time building those network as a young founder. So that will be my advice to the younger self of mine 15, 20 years back.
Wonderful. I think, Rajiv, first of all, thank you so much for coming over.
Thanks for inviting.
I think we have spoken about, broadness, various topics, various subjects, and we will, I think, continue our journey. I think there will be some more discussion we will do on some specific topics we have spoken and go in detail.
Absolutely.
And would love to meet you again on this.
Look,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Innovative employee brand, right? I showcase innovations and